Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we got Kyle Walker. Kyle is the co-founder and chief acquisition officer of Foundry Brands. Foundry Brands is acquiring the next generation of omni-digital consumer brands. Welcome, Kyle. Great. Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Really happy to have you here today, Kyle. Great that you can make it. And yeah, we want to find out more about your journey from the beginning to success where you're right now, and how everything evolved, so the listeners can understand where did you went through and what happened in your early life up to today. Thank you.
Sure. I've definitely had more of what I would call a generalist background. As soon as I finished grad school, ended up teaching for several years at the University of South Florida. From there, ended up going to work for Nike. Was with Nike Golf for several years, both out in the field as well as managing a sales territory and account management with some of our larger, more strategic relationships. And then from there, went inside Dick's Sporting Goods, was a buyer for a period of time, and then worked at GNC in e-commerce operations.
Interesting.
All of that took us through Florida to Pittsburgh, but being originally from the Pacific Northwest, and we had our first son by then, just wanted to find an opportunity to get back closer to home. And
okay,
through a crazy long story that I won't bore you with, ended up finding an opportunity at Amazon. And what was exciting was, I think Amazon, when you start, there can be a lot to take in. There's a lot of acronyms at the company. There's a lot of projects going on. There's a lot of people doing a lot of different initiatives and things to make it run how it runs. And I think for 30 days, we always had kind of this internal joke that it was kind of like drinking from a fire hose, that there was a lot of information coming at you, probably more than you could handle. And I think everybody goes through kind of a 30, 60, 90 day curve there, where for the first 30 days, you're just kind of hanging on for dear life. And, the next 30 after that, everything starts to slow down a little bit and make a little bit more sense. And by 90 days, I thought, having had all of that broad experience, both as an educator, in e-commerce operations, where we were kind of handling the entire picture of the web experience, from merchants to marketers to customer service, etc. And then going back to even, the Nike experience of having a very strong brand and protecting that brand, and how you thought about brand. And then the experience at Dick's Sporting Goods too, being a merchant, how are those things presented to customers, and it all just kind of, seemed to click. And so I spent 7 years at Amazon in a variety of roles, all of which were primarily focused around marketplace. And, what a crazy time to have been at marketplace. You probably could go back through the shareholder letters from, 2013 and compare those to 2020, and the size that marketplace grew, the importance of, going from, 25-30% of consumer sales to well north of 50. That's a big number. There's a lot of processes that were built during that time.
Definitely.
Some good, some that we've moved on from, but a fun time to be in marketplace. And I think that's what really gave me the passion for the marketplace, the seller business, the entrepreneurs and founders that make their living there, and the businesses, the small and medium-sized businesses that exist there. And to me, it's such a fascinating space. So when we had the opportunity to create Foundry, I think you'll see as we get into more of this discussion that, a lot of those same core principles of what we did at Amazon to try and stimulate that marketplace are the same things that we try and do at Foundry. We just have a little bit more control, and obviously we have the ability to, create kind of life-changing events for a lot of these founders
100%.
and validate what they've built.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pete. I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you having you here today, watching this video right now. And I wanted to let you know that Margin Business can help you to localize all of your Amazon listings for the European Union. If you have any questions about that, just send us an email. Thank you. One more thing. If you like our content, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you. Now enjoy the video. Did you ever sell, yourself on Amazon, or do you really were 100% involved in the whole process within Amazon as a part of Amazon?
Yeah, it's a good question. I never actually sold on Amazon, though many of my coworkers did. There was a period of time where we actually had a process where, you could go create an account, and employees were actually encouraged to do so, just so that they learn the mechanics of selling.
That's very interesting. So they could actually do it themselves, yeah?
Yeah, in fact, one of my earliest coworkers, who I sat next to, she and her husband, he was in grad school at the time, and they found a little niche business of a local supplier that wasn't selling online, and they would go, place their orders, and they would go pick them up once a month, and they would, ship them into FBA and sell that, and it probably paid for a good portion of his grad school.
But they cannot get blocked, right?
No, and again, when they did this, there were very strict rules. Like there was no, those worlds. As you can imagine, with a tech company, there's a lot of ways to make sure that you're auditing this, but nobody was allowed to pull any strings or
Sure.
create any kind of unfair advantages. And I'm sure, and it was nice to be able to get, I got the experience a lot through them, but nice to help them pack a box and create an FBA shipping label, because the next time that you're talking to one of your accounts about, how they optimize a warehouse process, having been through it, is helpful to relay the information.
Oh, I think that is brilliant, but it's kind of an insider trading. I would say, because, they have a kind of an unfair advantage because they could see, the whole marketplace, how it works. But when I think about it, kind of yes, kind of no, because as you mentioned, they cannot pull any strings or do anything, but they could still look into accounts and understand, because what you mentioned in 2013, 2014, there was no software like Helium 10 nowadays where we can really look into stuff, So that means the data was still inside Amazon, or we have to pull them out manually with Excel sheets and fill them out little by little, and then we can see who sells, who don't sell. But generally, it's a really amazing experience that you have been so early in Amazon and could see the process, where we're going and where we are today. And there's two different worlds, obviously, because in 2012, 2013, there was a little Alice in Wonderland, and today we have everything, we're coming down, getting blocked for anything and everywhere, and it's a complete other Amazon, I would even say. What you have, as mentioned, you worked as well for Nike before. In the golf section, do you play golf actually yourself, or how did you get into this?
Yeah, I do. I love to golf. I played college sports, was a Division I baseball player, and
wow,
as my career in college ended, there's probably a reason most people are that go through that and play that long are competitive, and I'm certainly no different. And I wasn't going to get 10, 11 people together to go play a pickup baseball game, and kind of needed a competitive outlet. And Just so happened that I'd always loved golf growing up, and had a little bit of more time now that I wasn't playing, and it was a great opportunity. And I just realized, I think there was a famous Mark Cuban quote, and he talked about how on an appearance that you don't, people always say follow your passion and success will follow, and he was like, his point was that's not always the case. He's like, he was passionate about sales and selling, and yet what he's famous for is coding and software and technology. And he's like, so his advice is, don't follow what you're passionate about, follow what you're really exceptionally good at, because people don't quit things that they're exceptionally good at. And his point was, he'd sit there and go, well, I love sales, but I just spent the last 48 hours straight up coding for the last 2 days. I'm not going to quit coding. I'm good at it. And he would realize after a 2 or 3 day coding streak that like, that's what he should do with his time, because he was good at it. And he had just spent 2 days doing it nonstop. So clearly he had a, ability to do it.
Definitely.
And I think golf was largely the same journey for me. Like I would just go to the driving range because I had time and had fun. And I realized that, I liked practicing just as much, if not more, than playing. And pretty soon, you put that kind of time into practicing something and you get better and you get passionate about it. But when I started at Nike, I didn't truly understand all the technical, specs that go into making a golf club. Like I didn't understand a lot of that, and was very fortunate to have been around, a lot of people that had a lot more experience in that space, had grown up in that space. And then it just became kind of a new passion project to learn more and more about, how the equipment was made, how it was going to be marketed, what were the opportunities to improve, how does better understanding that equipment help you relate to your customers? How's it going to be marketed in store? How's that, golf pro that owns a green grass shop going to be able to relay this to their customer to make it compelling? And I think seeing that whole journey was super helpful.
Yeah, I think as well. That's why I'm asking, because these are points which are actually obviously sticking out, And what you meant with what you said with Mark Cuban is as well funny, because I had somebody a few weeks in the podcast. His name is Nathan Youngchild. Shout outs to Nathan Youngchild as well. And he said exactly the same. Pay attention of what you're good at, because you will end up doing it until the rest of your, most probably until the rest of your life, So this is something which I really liked, So the journey went on. You mentioned GNC as well, because GNC is especially for me something special in one way, because in the US, obviously, it's a very big brand, in Asia as well. But in Europe, it's not too big. I mean, in the UK, yes, but in the rest of the European Union, it's not big. And they don't do the marketing efforts as well in order to be big. So that's why I wanted to know, how does GNC in the States work? Why are they very concentrated only on the area where it works and they don't care about the rest? Or how does it work? Just a quick overview,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been there since 2011, 2012.
Oh, okay.
The business has probably gone through a lot of change, but I think, the things that I can comment on is, it's a super fascinating business, I think, because they've done such a great job connecting to, that health conscious, workout fitness enthusiast consumer, and they did it in a really big way. What I think is interesting was that, it's a very complex business, because you had franchise stores, you had corporate owned stores, you had managing the supply between those two things. I think everybody there would say, and certainly it was true when I was there, might have been a little bit later to kind of join into the e-commerce, party than they should have. And so you dealt with a lot of, because you have franchisees that are very important to the company. You have corporate owned stores and corporate initiatives that are very important to the company. Trying to balance all of those things through the experience that you provide to e-commerce was really enlightening, because I think people have a tendency, we're all the same, I'll throw myself in this boat, that occasionally you get fearful of change, right? And
Sure.
a lot of people that for example, that had franchised out the GNC name to start their stores, they felt like giving somebody the opportunity to purchase those products online was actually going to impact their investment in their store.
I understand.
And
okay.
Over time, being conscious of that point of view, what ended up happening was their store traffic actually ended up benefiting a lot from the website, because there were more orders out there. There were places that needed to return, and those locations popped up in somebody's Google Maps. And so the long story short, I think, and the lesson was, you certainly take that input into consideration, but I think also try and develop plans and be conscious of the fact that the consumer wants convenience at the end of the day, and whether they buy online because of convenience or whether they buy in store because of convenience, there is ways to marry kind of that omni-channel experience, but it's got to be done with intention. It's got to be done so that the experience is going to be similar in all of those different places. Sometimes people want to go explore in a store and then they buy online, and sometimes people do their research online and go buy in store because they have one more question, or it ends up netting out to be positive for the business when you have more customers that are served in the way that they want to digest information. And that was a big part of what we did every day, was making sure that somebody that walked in the store or went to the website had access to all the information that they wanted, regardless, in the place that they wanted it, at the time that they wanted it. And it takes a lot more coordination, but it was a great experience.
The reason why I mention this is because, Nike, GNC, obviously they are big brands. You have seen how they grow, and then Amazon for you. You have seen how they grow. You have seen everything inside, how they work. How you explained as well with GNC that they have stores, that they're franchised, that that it's not so easy afterwards as well to develop the e-commerce side. Although right now would be a big opportunity for them, they seem not to put the whole 100% on it. For example, while Nike as well adapted, they went online. They did everything they can, and now even they go even bigger. They go into the NFT space. Everyone is developing, and that's what I was missing a little bit with GNC actually. But the main reason why I mentioned all of these brands is because now we know as well your background. Because of these brands, because of the background, Foundry Brands, obviously, you know exactly what is going on with brands, be it small or big, or the challenges they run through. So that's why I think your company can really understand brands to buy and which brands, for example, not to buy, which brands have potential, which brands have even more potential for the future, or which are only for now, maybe can ride on them a bit and then try to sell them again. So tell us a little bit more about Foundry Brands and your mission and where you want to go.
Yeah, so I'm a co-founder and chief acquisition officer of Foundry Brands, and we do have a wonderful CEO, Helen Vade, who's come from places like Pizza Hut and Walmart, and I think our executive team, our founding team, I think has really tried to approach Foundry Brands from more of an operations perspective and say, look, let's leverage all of this experience that we have, not just with small brands and marketplace and all the work that we did at Amazon. One of my co-founders helped build most of Seller Central, and really being involved in kind of even still where marketplace is going is largely still part of, plans that we and our teams were part of. But I think thinking about all of how a brand continues to thrive through not just Amazon, but through Walmart's marketplace and retail channels, and how they're using social media to acquire customers, engage with their customers, and listen to their customers, influences how new products are developed. And I think, at the end of the day, Foundry feels like we have so many businesses are constrained because they're owner operated. And if it's owner operated, it's only natural that you're going to make really careful and cautious and sustainable decisions, because that is your livelihood. Whereas I think one of the opportunities that Foundry has is, we raised $100 million of equity. We have the ability to invest in that brand at a scale that, most owner operators don't. Two, I think my team personally launched probably over 10,000, 12,000 brands over 7 years, and getting to watch who succeeded and who didn't, and what the blueprint of creating a successful brand is really important when you think about that's not just an asset or a line item on a balance sheet. That's a company that needs to continue to develop and thrive and get that investment of both, human resources, human capital, as well as financial resources. And having a blueprint in mind before you start is really critical. At Foundry, we're never going to be the company that, is bragging that we've done 10 acquisitions last week, because our belief is if you did 10 acquisitions last week, you probably didn't, do the right acquisitions. Like, we want to find brands that we can invest in over the next 10 years and continue to grow those. So more of the, model where, it's quality over quantity. It's brands that are going to become part of the Foundry family, and the founders are going to, we're stewards of these brands, and we want the founders around and involved and engaged in where that brand goes. We're unlocking a lot of resources that help them scale.
I think that's a very good way, because, when you have the knowledge and you can guide as well the sellers, because they are anxious, maybe sometimes they even want to throw everything away because they just want to get rid of it, or it's their baby and they don't want to give it out of their hands, so you have to guide them, you show them how it goes, you build it a little bit more, and then you can just simply after 1 year maybe then they let it go, so every seller is different. And I think it's a very good approach how you can explain, and as well your background gives confidence for the sellers as well. So I think that's a pretty one of the unique aggregator brands, Foundry Brands. Can you just tell us where can anyone contact you who wants, for example, to sell the brands? What is the website, so we can just put it under the video here?
Yeah, you can visit us at foundrybrands.com. There's web forms there so that we can, reach out to you and engage and look, like, because I mentioned earlier that, it's not a numbers game for us. We try and leave everybody, better off for that conversation than what they came in. So, if it's not a fit, we're going to give you every bit of, advice that we have and make sure that time spent was valuable. Because at the end of the day, and then maybe this is part of where the educator in me comes back around, but M&A is a complicated space. You can certainly pay lawyers and you can certainly pay accountants, but at the end of the day, if you don't understand what you're doing with a business, you've never been through an exit before, just knowing what questions to ask. Like, I would say 99 out of 100 people that have exited a business, they can't recall specific contractual terms, and half the time they can't even remember exactly what the finances were, what the agreement looked like, and things like that. They all will tell you, though, that it was incredibly important that they spent time to make sure that whoever they sold their business to was going to be aligned to running it in a way that they were aligned with, that there was a cultural fit. And I think to the extent that we can, we like to keep the founders as involved as they want to be in the process, which is a differentiator. And I think, the second piece is, look, we're trying to create a great experience so that you still think positively about our engagement in the future, whether we did business or we didn't do business. Nothing makes us happier than trying to serve those that, put their heart and soul into their business and give them a little advice and hopefully help their journey regardless.
Great. I think that is really good. To wrap this up, one last question. What would be your message to the world? I mean, to Amazon sellers, to CEOs, to entrepreneurs, anything that you can say right now?
Yeah, I think it's a unique time in history where, so many businesses have been created online. And, when I read articles about how, Amazon or other marketplaces have, made it hard to succeed in kind of a brick and mortar, retail environment. The reality is customers did that. Customers wanted the convenience of shopping online. It wasn't Amazon, but what Amazon has created is this marketplace where you can connect to their 300 million worldwide customers, and you can have access to the same tools that they use to sell their products to consumers. And because of that, I've seen the great stories of people that are retired at 27, 28 because they, built a marketplace business for the last 6 years and they sold it, or people that can live wherever they want to in the world and travel around and raise their family wherever they want to. Just because the business doesn't live on your town in Main Street doesn't mean that it's not employing people and having a positive impact in small business. So I would say, look, this is the perfect opportunity for all those conversations that you have with your family and your friends that start out on a napkin at your kitchen table of a product idea, a better mousetrap, whatever. It's never been easier to find somebody that can make that product for you, source it, and find a way to instantly connect with millions and millions of people. And the reality is, on Amazon, you can have a completely niche business, that only applies to a specific subset of customers, and that still can be millions and millions of dollars of revenue. So it's never been easier to create a business. And certainly right now, from a Foundry perspective, we love businesses like that have created legitimate connections with their customers, and you can build and exit a brand in almost no time. And so if you have that entrepreneurial kind of interest, there's no better time. There's a mountain of information out there. There's a path to do it, and now there's an exit path to validate that time was more valuable. And so I just encourage people to take the opportunity and take the leap though it's something that they're passionate about.
Definitely, I can confirm that. We are definitely the best times right now. Internet, we are connected everywhere. We can do everything from our homes even, so we just have to do it, just take action. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.